Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello, welcome to Illinois Stories. I'm Mark McDonald in Springfield at the Henson Robinson Zoo. We have a unique opportunity this morning. We learned that the same veterinarian's been caring for these animals for over 20 years, and he agreed to let us come on a vet visit to the zoo here today. And Greg Hurst, thank you so much. I mean, I know this isn't part of your usual job description,
right.
But thanks, because most people don't even know that zoos have a special vet for their animals, and they have to, don't they?
Yeah, they really do. And you know, having come here so much for so many years, we've developed a lot of wisdom over the years about these animals.
This is Opus, right?
This is Opus.
Opus, I wanted to meet Opus because Opus is the reason you're the zoo vet.
Well, yeah, this exhibit is really what brought me here. When I came to town, I had a practice where I see cats and dogs mainly, but I also see avian animals, and so the zoo needed somebody that is familiar with birds. So that's what brought me here.
So Opus has got to be over 24 years old.
Yeah, right now he's right at 24.
How's he doing?
He seems to be pretty good. I mean, he really doesn't have any major issues. So, you know, these animals live in their upper 20s to 30 years, and so he's getting up there a little bit.
He knows you pretty well too, doesn't he?
Yeah, he kind of bonded with me when I first came here. And for a while, I was kind of like his mate, and then he finally found a real mate.
Did you get jealous then?
No, not at all. Not at all.
You know, we can hear this noise in the background. These are called jackass penguins too, because of that noise they're making. Sound like a donkey, don't they?
It's an African penguin, but jackass penguin because they make that noise. Yeah.
Now, what would you normally need to do to him just to check him over? What is
he? Basically, I look at things like look at their plumage, and sometimes they're going through molts, so they'll lose their feathers. You look at their body condition, like their weight. Mainly, you look at the chest here and see when they're getting ready to molt, they'll get a lot of weight gain, and so they'll get real heavy, and so you know what's coming. And then you just look at that to make sure that it's adequate. And Tracy's a zookeeper here, and she keeps track of their weights constantly and how much they're eating. So they measure the amount of fish and everything that they're eating. Other things I look at their eyes, because they're kind of prone to irritation in their eyes from getting in the water and things in the environment getting in there. Look at their mouth, and look at the color of their gums. And
hold that open if you could for us, there, Doc. We'll get a look at that. Yeah, there we go.
It's kind of unusual. But you're looking for just different things in there that might indicate a problem. And then, we just kind of look at their vent, and then, of course, I like to listen to their heart and lungs as well. And that's generally, the type of exam we do on them.
Who's this little critter? He's curious, isn't he?
Is this Grace?
This is Grace.
Grace is Opus's new partner.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, she is very wants to know what's going on.
Yeah, she's
okay. Well, she's a good partner.
They're a pair.
She's a good partner.
They're definitely a pair. Yeah, the main issues we've had with the penguins over the year, they're highly susceptible to malaria infection, and people really are surprised by that because of where we live, but malaria is carried by the sparrows and other birds around here, and mosquitoes transmit it, and this species is very susceptible to it, and so we have them on preventative medication, which helps some, but it's not foolproof, and we've had cases where animals have come down with the malaria infections here and passed away, actually.
Well, this is very interesting because even a small zoo like this has a multiplicity of different types of animals. And you run into all kinds of stuff. So during this program, we get a chance to talk to you about some of the things you have run into, and we'll get a chance to follow you around and see you check up some of the other animals as well.
Okay,
thank you.
Exactly, yeah.
Wow, she is quick. Good job, Shelley. Okay, Greg, we go from penguins to lemurs now. Of course, now we're talking about mammals, primates, actually very close relatives to ourselves here, these primates. And the reason we wanted to catch a lemur, oh boy, she doesn't like it, does she? Is because this particular lemur has a skin condition, I guess.
Yeah, we've got a little bit of a rash on the underside, and we're wanting to take a closer look at it. We've been doing some treatments on it, and we need to kind of gauge how that's going.
Even the gentle ones without claws can be a real challenge.
That's right, and you have to take your precautions.
And this is called a black lemur, I think?
This is a black lemur from Madagascar.
From Madagascar. And she doesn't have any claws, thank goodness, or poor Shelly here would be in bad shape.
Yeah, they have little hands just like little babies, actually. She's having kind of a rash on her abdomen and her inguinal groin area, and it actually looks, in this light, looks a little bit better. Now this will flare up at times. You know, if she's rubbing it on something, it may get red, but then it may cool off. It doesn't look terrible down there.
That's good.
Let me see underneath here. It's okay. It's all right. It's all right.
Wow.
Yeah, so it doesn't look bad.
You're going to get a clean bill of health today.
How soon are they going to be moving back into their exhibit? Do you have any idea?
Hopefully in a month or two.
Okay. Okay.
Well, they had a fire in the lemur exhibit, so they've had to put them in
temporary
quarters.
Yeah, their exhibit had a fire, and they're doing some reconstruction.
Wow, now see, that's why you want to be careful how you handle them. Let's see if we can get another look at those teeth. That's incredible. Look at those teeth.
Yeah,
look how sharp those are.
We've got a little bit of tartar buildup on that canine tooth. Could probably stand a little cleaning.
Look how sharp that is. My goodness, that would go right through your hand.
Yeah, that would get you. No doubt about it.
Now she's settled down, though. Now she's settled down.
The rest of her coat looks good. It's really on the underside, so. Okay, well, we can put her back. Good done.
Always an adventure, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. Okay, you're good. You're good. There you go.
Oh boy,
Yeah.
I feel better now. Nope, the head goes in, then once it senses that there's a cantaloupe there, I imagine it'll come back out.
Huh? There we go.
Look at that. Oh boy, he likes the rind and everything, huh? Wow. Now, Greg, this is one ancient animal, isn't it?
Well, it's starting to be. When we first got it, it was just, really just the size of a plate. They were very small, and I can't remember what year that was. It was probably, 15, 18 years ago, maybe. This one in particular, when it was small, was over by the bear exhibit, and one of the bears started playing with it through the fence and actually caused a lot of trauma, and lost some toes and had some shell injuries.
So picked it up and roughed it up good, huh?
Yeah. And they rushed it into the clinic. It was an emergency, it was one of those kind of things.
Yeah.
And
were you in your bathrobe and you had to go
No,
and meet them?
No, I was actually at the clinic, and they brought it in.
Good.
I remember it was like all these little toes dangling, and these piercings through the shell and everything. And it was on antibiotics for a long time. And
he survived pretty well.
Survived.
But I brought up the ancient remark because we were talking about this is a Galapagos tortoise.
Galapagos tortoise.
And some of these are known to live 150, 180 some years old, I guess.
Yeah, the scientist Darwin had one as a pet that he got in the Galapagos Islands when he was doing his studies, and it just died like 3 years ago, and it was 176 years old.
Wow.
So, this one's going to be around a while.
And so people might say, what in the world would a Galapagos tortoise need a vet for? Well, if the bear picks it up and takes a bite out of it, that's why.
That's certainly one thing on the checklist, yeah. So, they've done really well.
Well, Doc, maybe you can get a look at Mandy's teeth here if I can bring her up a little higher for this strawberry. She likes strawberries, doesn't she?
Yeah, she loves fruit.
Did you have any luck seeing her teeth?
Well, I saw the one canine tooth. It's worn down a little bit, but it looks healthy.
Shall we give her a little more?
Yeah.
She likes, I don't know if this is nectarine or what this is.
That's what it looks like.
Kind of hard to see it.
Yeah. So when we look at an animal like this, we have to do little tricks like that to get what we want to see. And
Goodness gracious. This is the biggest animal in the zoo at 400 pounds. And, you run into all kinds of issues with trying to examine an animal like this, because first you have to get them in the enclosure, and then if you really want to do any work on them, you have to anesthetize them, don't you? Because you can't get in and handle an animal like this.
No, you can never do that. But you know, just here, her sitting here like this, I can really look at a lot of parameters. You know, you look at the nostrils and you look at the color and everything. It's good. I can see her eyes. You know, her general coat condition, I can kind of evaluate that with her sitting here and look at her body condition.
How does she look to you? Pretty good?
She really looks good. I mean, she's an old animal. She's 26 years old. You know, they live into their upper 20s. So, you know, you would expect certain things at that age, maybe some muscle atrophy and those kinds of things, but she really looks good. You know, you get a chance to look at the health of her feet and everything, and, you know, she really looks good.
She's an Asiatic black bear. We're going to lift her up a little higher here. And she had a friend here that lived with her, Boo Boo, for years. You had an experience, talk about a bad experience. Boo Boo just didn't wake up one day.
Yeah, and that was here in January, and you know, the zoo called me on a Sunday morning, and you know, they said they came in and found Boo Boo. Well, they thought he was dead. And you know, you have to be careful checking that.
Oh my goodness!
He could have been hibernating.
Playing possum.
Yeah, playing possum. But no, he had passed away during the night. There was no indication of any problems. The night before, he was fine. He came in. You know, we did about a 4-hour autopsy, or necropsy is what we call it. And really the only thing we found was in his heart muscle had thickened to the point it had closed in on the chamber of his heart so that he couldn't pump blood efficiently. And that's a hypertrophic heart disease, and you know, it's inevitable that it would kill him at some point. And you know, the basis of that disease is it's a genetic thing, and he was just destined to have that. And you know, he lived 25 years, so he lived a good life, and you know, went quickly, but you know, that was quite an ordeal.
But here you're called on to do an autopsy of a 400-pound bear as well, so there's all kinds of issues you're running into, aren't there?
Yeah, there really are, and it's, you know, it happens when it happens.
Well, Doc, I guess this is every vet's worst nightmare, isn't it? A porcupine with his quills all extended like that?
Yes. You just don't know where to begin, you know? I think we're here to check the skin, I heard.
Oh,
man. You know, it's just one of those things where, you know, he's a little bit territorial here, and you have to be careful. So to actually, you know, do any thorough exam on him, we would definitely have to anesthetize him. And an animal this size, we would use a blow dart, and probably aim for the front shoulder area and get him anesthetized. So we'll be doing that soon, because it'll be time to look at his teeth, make sure they're not, their teeth grow all the time, and you have to make sure they're aligned fine and wearing fine.
Now this is an Asian porcupine, I understand.
African
porcupine, and the American porcupines have shorter quills.
Shorter
but they
quills,
still are pretty gamey to try to have to handle.
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean,
and you mentioned blow darting an animal like that, and can you show it, demonstrate that for us?
Well, yeah, I wouldn't actually blow dart him today, but you know, I can certainly demonstrate how a blow dart works.
Yeah, that'd be great.
The mechanics behind that. Yeah, he's quite impressive.
Okay, Doc, you talk about a variety of creatures that you have to deal with. Now we're looking at a Madagascar ground boa, a huge snake. And you're going to look in its mouth, right?
Yeah, this one was involved in a fire we had in one of the exhibits here, and you know, so we were periodically checking, you know, especially the mucous membranes in the mouth, the coloration. They are so strong.
Well, she's going to tie herself in knots.
They're powerful.
Oh, they must be. There we go.
So what I'm looking for here is how clean the mouth looks, the pinkness of it. If there's any, you know, discoloration like yellowing or discharge buildup. That's the airway right there. And it really looks healthy. It's got a good color.
She looks okay, huh?
Yeah, it really looks good. That's her airway right there. Above her tongue. Okay. Eyes look good. You know, her general body condition looks really good. She's eating okay?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so we just kind of keep an eye on that.
She's doing fine. She was in a fire.
She was in a fire and was in the smoke for quite a while.
And survived just fine. Held her breath, survived fine.
Yeah, it makes it a challenge whenever you have to anesthetize. If you're trying to use gas on these guys, they can hold their breath for hours, so, you know, it makes it very difficult too. you basically have to intubate them and get a tube in their windpipe and then hand pump the gas in.
Won't have to do that today, though.
No, we're not
she doesn't
gonna
need
do that
any
today.
attention. Okay,
Nope.
good. Well, Doc, you talk about a challenge now. We're in a big exhibit here with 3 red wolves, and they are fast.
They're fast and they're skittish, so it makes it challenging.
Now, let's say you've got to catch one of those to treat it. How do you do it?
Well, in the past, we've not been allowed to anesthetize them, and so we've had to always use nets to catch them. So it's very difficult.
Nets?
We use large nets, and we'll come in several nets and just sort of stand a line of people in nets across the way and then walk towards them.
Oh my goodness.
And then they come at you trying to run by, and then you sort of catch them, and then they get caught up in the net, and then you have to kind of like 3 or 4 people come down on them to hold them.
What a challenge.
So, you know, now they're allowing us to anesthetize, so we'll be using an air rifle to shoot a dart.
Okay.
And then, you know, tranquilize. But even that's going to be a challenge because we'll be trying to hit a certain part on the body, and they're on the move.
Yeah. What part of the body would you try to hit?
Well, I'd probably go back in the back end in the hip area and try to, you know, hit some muscle back there. And, you know, you hit them and you see what happens. Hopefully things work out. So we'll be doing that again soon here because it's time to, you know, do their exams, and we'll take blood samples and check some parameters there and vaccinate them. And they are on preventatives for heartworms and intestinal worms monthly. We can do that orally, so that's done easily in their food. But this is a mom and 2 daughters. 2 daughters were born here in '07. And they actually look good. Their coats look nice. Wintertime has a way of doing that, I think, being outside.
Okay, Doc, now here's a new animal to the zoo, and you probably haven't had the pleasure of treating a wolverine yet, have you?
Well, I have. We had one in here before, a different one, so we've treated that one. This one just arrived, so we haven't done anything yet. We usually have the zoo that's sending them do a lot of things for us beforehand to make sure they're healthy when they come.
They have a real reputation for being real mean.
Well, you know, he just looks like you just want to get in there and play with him.
He does. He looks playful and friendly and cuddly.
He's really has a lot of antics, and you know, he's a real crowd pleaser. But they are noted for actually killing for pleasure, and you know, that's one of the things about a wolverine. And they're not a huge animal, but they, you know, certainly have a lot of teeth you'd have to be worried about.
Oh my goodness! And big claws too.
Claws, yeah. They can burrow into the ground, so they have those huge claws, and they, you know, they can move quickly. So, you know, so an animal like this, if we want to look at it up close, we're going to have to use. We'd probably use a blow dart. We'd have them into the exhibit where it'd be a smaller area where we'd have access to, you know, use a blow dart.
Yeah, get close to them.
Get close to them. Yeah.
And anesthetize him, because you wouldn't have a chance of handling that animal unless he was out.
Yeah. Didn't quite get it.
Okay, 1 down, 2 to go.
This is a drag. Got my finger.
Pinner.
He's got her finger. You all right, Doc?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Hold on.
I don't have anything strong to hold back here.
All right.
That was a risky business.
Yeah, we
wasn't it?
probably risk it a little too far there.
Talon Thornton, the zoo director, was holding the animal down. That's a bobcat, by the way, that we saw.
Right.
And I'll tell you what, no matter how gentle you think they are, they raised it by hand, it's still capable of doing that.
Yeah, and that's all reflexive. You know, the animal didn't really have any major intent to cause harm. It's just a reflex.
Yeah.
But those claws are so sharp, they just pierce you, and they're just like little pinpricks, but yet it holds you
And you've
in
got
position.
little pinpricks to show. Look,
Well, yeah, I got
you've got it,
one there,
here and here,
one here, and
you've
a
got
couple
it,
on my fingers.
You got it here. My goodness.
Yeah, so I'm going to need to clean those out thoroughly so they don't react.
Eric lost his.
But you know, that's kind of a lesson to learn there. That maybe we.
We've learned through
the
this
limits
program.
are-
You never know what a wild animal is going to do.
Sure. Well, and these animals, we used to be able to handle them just like a domestic cat that someone would have as a pet. And so they're kind of in that quasi area where you think you can get away with it, but this is a good lesson here.
Yes, it is.
So this is probably the most I've ever been hurt working out here.
We're going to let you clean those up.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks.
no problem.
Talon, we've been talking a lot through this program about, since we've been talking to the vet, treating these animals, and oftentimes it involves needles. You know, either an injection or a vaccine, sometimes anesthesia. And you can't get to a wild animal and just do that without some distance between you and the animal. So really what we want to do is show how this blow dart works. And you've got one there for us.
And this is one of our syringes that we use with the blowgun. And the way that you do it, you take whatever type of drug that you're going to use, whether it be a vaccination or an anesthesia, and you fill it into this top part of this syringe. Once you have that on, you put the needle on. Now, the interesting thing about these needles, the hole is not here on the top of the needle. It's here on the side, and this sleeve covers that.
Okay.
And what that allows you to do is, once you have your drug in here, you have the needle on, you take this back part off and you fill this back part of the syringe with air. And what that will do is, once this needle hits the animal, the skin forces this sleeve back, exposing the hole, and that creates a vacuum with the air back here, and then everything then is forced into the animal.
It shoves it into the
shoots
bloodstream,
right into the animal,
Okay.
and it goes. It goes really quick. Then the important thing then is to give the animal time. Just sit back. If we're giving them an anesthetic, to sit back and give that time to take. You want to keep the animal calm. We typically, when we do that, we'll shut the lights off, leave the building, and just let the animal calm down and let the drug start to take effect. Then we'll go back in and do whatever medical work that we need to do.
Now, you also have a gun here. Let me take this
We
off your
also,
hands.
with some of the larger animals, it's the same kind of concept. It's a little bigger dart that we use, and we can take the same blowgun syringe, attach it to the barrel of the pistol here, and it'll look like, at that time, a rifle. And then all you need to do is you fill this up with air, and then you use your sight, and then it's simple as
And that
pulling the
spurt of
trigger.
air, shoots the dart.
That little blast of air will propel that dart out of the blow tube, and hopefully right into the target that you're aiming at.
Okay, Doc, you need to be a man of many talents. Now, we're pretending there's a medium-sized wild animal in front of you, and you've got to shoot it and treat it. When encountering wild animals, you have to be prepared for everything. That's one of the first lessons that a zoo vet and zookeepers learn. I think, like me, you probably learned a new respect for what they deal with here at your typical zoo. With another Illinois Story in Springfield, I'm Mark McDonald. Thanks for watching.
Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you. For a DVD copy of the program you've just seen, send $19.95 to Network Knowledge, P.O. Box 6248, Springfield, Illinois 62708. Be sure to include the program name, subject, and when the program aired. You can also order with your credit card by calling 800-232-3605.